Would you have liked to have gotten this episode days ago? Ad-free? Well, you can. Just go to patreon.com/RussoTWC and support the show. The show is the only blackballed wrestling podcast in the entire world, and we really appreciate our Patreons, but you get a lot for your money if you go to patreon.com/RussoTWC. Not only do you get this show early, but you get bonus shows, as many as 4 a month. And once in a while, we'll drop something free on there. And you can even do a level where you get t-shirts, phone calls from Vince, shout outs, all kind of cool stuff. Just go to patreon.com/RussoTWC. Welcome to Truth With Consequences. Vince Russo. We had another great show last week on your exit from WCW. I think a lot of people were kind of surprised at how emotional it got and kind of the lengths of your kind of depression after WCW. But I want to thank you for kind of being open about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what this show is, Matt. I'm an open book. I say that all the time. And one of the things I always say is, man, I don't have any skeletons in my closet. Like, I really don't. There's nothing I've done in my life that I wouldn't admit, that I'm ashamed of. I've made mistakes. I've acted in ways that I shouldn't have acted. But that's what this show is, bro. You could hear it from the horse's mouth. And I mean, that was a very, very difficult time in my life, man.
So speaking of thinking back, you're probably thinking back to times where you weren't moving your house and getting all this stuff done. How are you able to get all of your stuff for Russo's brand done with your move of your house?
Well, bro, the show is always the priority. So we're moving, bro. And once I started getting this schedule in place, first and foremost, I got to look at how all the shows are going to get done, when they're going to get done. No problem, bro. I did castrating earlier tonight. I got this with you. I've got disco tomorrow. Then I literally move over the weekend, and by Monday I should be set up.
And things are still going very strong over at Russo's brand with back up to 10 shows a week, russosbrand.com. Even though you're moving, you're still doing your Raw recaps, your SmackDown recaps, your disco show, your Capturing the Marks. From what I've been hearing and what I've been seeing, the Raw and SmackDown reviews are getting a little bit more intensive lately.
Yeah, it was great, bro. I mean, there was listen, I'm going to be honest. SmackDown was SmackDown. I did not see any change. I think the concentration with Bruce was definitely raw. But bro, when we have something to talk about, it's great. And we had something to talk about today. There was some meat on the bone. We could really, sink our teeth into it. And it was freaking enjoyable. It's when there's nothing to talk about that it really makes my job very, very difficult, bro.
Well, it's not right now. And if you guys want to check out Russo's brand, russosbrand.com. It's on the Realm Network. It's for pennies a day and you get it right to your phone. It's a really easy way to add a lot of wrestling content. But here at Truth With Consequences, we kind of get into one subject and we learn as much as we can from the person who helped design it. Last week, with the exit of WCW, the week before with some stuff from St. Valentine's Day Massacre. And then now we're back to TNA. We're in a bit of a rotation right now. I think the fans, the listeners are digging the rotation. What do you think about kind of switching between those three subjects?
There's a lot of untold TNA stories, bro. And I spent twice the amount of time in TNA than I did the WWE. I worked with many, many, many more people came through that door at TNA than WWE. And there's a lot to talk about, man. And that's why I'm glad we're doing this show.
And a lot of people, unlike the other two subjects, many more people who are relevant to this very day. Today, this was your suggestion. We're doing the X Division and its impact on wrestling, how it changed wrestling forever. It's funny to me you would bring that up because, Vince, a lot of people think of, work rate and Vince Russo as two things that are like oil and vinegar. What is first of all, when you think of the X Division, what are the first thoughts that pop in your head?
Well, Matt, I think we really have to back it up because I want to go to the beginning and my involvement with this form of wrestling. And my involvement, bro, really goes back to the WWE when Eric and WCW, they were doing so well with the luchadors. Okay, bro, the luchadors would open every Nitro. It was new. Conan helped bring them over from Mexico. And we were looking to combat that at the WWE. And bro, I wasn't in full-time swing of writing yet. I was on the outskirts. I was starting to get on the inside. It was still kind of, really Bruce and Vince and Pat. And bro, their answer to the luchadors was Taka Nichinomo and Brian Christopher. These were the two. And bro, I remember that it was a 220-pound weight limit. And we brought in Taka and we brought in Brian Christopher. We brought them in to, give our fan base that style and type of wrestling because it was so popular at WCW. Now, bro, I was still trying to develop Brian Christopher as a character, and I was still trying to develop Taka Michinoku as a character. So, like, even though the brands of wrestling were different, these guys were 220 pounds, they were high flyers, they were fast, it was quick, I was still trying to develop these athletes as characters.
If you think about it, that WCW cruiserweight division, which was, replete with luchadors, was almost kind of your first foray into wrestlers wrestling without learning much about them. We'd have a new luchador every week. We wouldn't learn much about him other than what Mike Tenay would say. The WWE response, with the two that you mentioned, with Scotty 2 Hotty, with, Essa Rios and people like that is always kind of thought of as kind of a big miss. What was WWE missing, WWF missing in their cruiserweight division? What didn't they get that WCW got?
It was a big miss, bro. It was a big miss. I'll tell you why. First of all, bro, I use this term a lot. The luchadors were cool, bro. The outfits were cool. The outfits were part of their personality, and they were cool, bro. Bro, I got to tell you, nothing against Taka, nothing against Brian, nothing against, Scotty 2 Hotty. Bro, they were a lot better at it. The luchadors were just a lot better at it. And bro, it makes sense. A lot of those guys were older. A lot of those guys had been doing it in Mexico for years and years and years. They probably had worked with each other dozens and dozens and dozens of times putting matches together. So what we tried to put together really, really paled in comparison to WCW. No doubt about it, bro.
When you are doing this in WWF, coming to TNA, you had meetings with Jeff Jarrett, Jerry Jarrett, about this new company. Who was the person who came up with the first idea about this X division in TNA?
Bro, the first time I can remember, there was a big red flag immediately. Okay, bro, if you know Jeff Jarrett, like he's a lot like Vince McMahon when it comes to this regard. Jeff doesn't sit there and watch television. Okay, bro. There are two things Jeff does. He'll watch sports. Yeah, everybody knows Jeff's a huge Titan fan, and now he's a Predator fan. The Predators weren't around back then. Jeff will watch sports, but at the time, Matt, Jeff was obsessed with the what they call the X Games, bro. He would sit there and watch those for hours and hours. I mean, hours. So, it was his idea. It came from him, the X division, taking straight from the X Games. And bro, I can remember like, okay, bro, like it sounds great. Like you're the boss. I'll back this. I got no issues with this. But what is it? You know what I mean? I remember asking the question, what is the X division?
We've all asked that for many years.
We've all asked that. And bro, like, that's the thing. Like, there's a little bit of a problem when he can't answer you right away. He can't answer you right away. But basically what the answer got to be was no limitations. Doesn't matter how big you are, doesn't matter how much you weigh, doesn't matter blah blah blah. There's no limitations. And I'm like, well, there's kind of no limitations in wrestling matches.
You're right.
Bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you could put Dwayne Gill in the ring with freaking Andre the Giant, like, if you want. There are really no limitations. So, bro, I think off the bat, the fact that it could never really be defined was really going to be a problem that was going to haunt it for years and years and years and years to come.
And of course, the tagline, it's not about weight limits, it's about no limits.
No limits. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
And then in Figure 4 Daily, back then, Brian Alvarez writes, the plans to have a middleweight division have been dropped. Instead, they're going to introduce an X title, which, quote, will signify the best in the style of competition, showcasing the best aspects of the evolution of the wrestling business during the last decade. Alvarez says, that sounds like wild high spots devoid of rhyme or reason, which to me signifies the worst aspects of the evolution of the wrestling business during the last decade. There will not be a weight limit, but because high flyers will fight for the title, the majority of them will be smaller guys. If you were forced to define what the X division was, what definition would you have?
I would define it as, bro, matches with great athleticism, phenomenal athletes,
Right,
but zero psychology.
When you're watching the first match of the X division, are you seeing a chance to write, or was it pretty much just said to you, hey, this isn't something that you're going to be doing. You just don't worry about this. We're going to go ahead and let you do some other stuff.
Yeah. No, not at all, bro. I was going to write characters and stories for these guys like they were any other wrestlers on the card. I mean, and I did that at the beginning. I mean, one of the things we did early on that I thought was great was the angle with Jerry Lynn and AJ Styles. And I wrote that angle. I had a lot to do with that, but I was writing characters and angles for guys in this division.
The first NWA TNA pay-per-view in June 19th was George Estrada, Sonny Siaki, and Jimmy Yang beat AJ Styles, Low Key, and Jerry Lynn. So
no. I think, bro, the very, very, very first show, it was Jerry Lynn. It wasn't the Flying Elvises. It was I don't remember everybody that was in that show. I think Psychosis was in there, Jerry Lynn, AJ Styles, but I don't think the Flying Elvises came. I helped create the Flying Elvises, and I wasn't there for that first show.
When we go to having a title, how much did you have to familiarize yourself with Low Key and Jerry Lynn and AJ Styles? How much emphasis was put with you, like saying, when people telling you, hey, AJ's a big part of this future, Jerry Lynn's a big part of the future, how much emphasis was on these guys as a directive to you?
Bro, really none. You don't have to give me a directive because I'm going back to WWE and WCW. Bro, if your name is on that roster, my job is to help get you over. So, AJ Styles is going to get as much attention as, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett's going to get as much attention as, anybody on the roster. So, basically I was looking at these guys as wrestlers on the roster. I didn't care what division they were in. Part of my job was to help get them over. And that's what I did. I didn't care who they were.
So talk about a little bit first impressions of AJ Styles.
Yeah, well, the first thing is, bro, like AJ was so young back then, bro. But such a great, unbelievable athlete, could do unbelievable things, but could not cut a promo. And bro, back then he had such a heavy Southern accent. And so like I knew like, bro, this guy's phenomenal in the ring, but I've really got to help him, with his promos and, just help develop his character that way. That's why, bro, they even put me with him as a manager for a little while so I could do the talking for AJ.
You didn't know who Jerry Lynn was. You hadn't really seen Jerry Lynn wrestle. Of course, he came up with Global with matches that were very heralded against the 1, 2, 3 Kid, X-Pac. I think he was a Lightning Kid back then. He was under a mask as Mr. JL in WCW. He's finally out of the mask. He's finally as himself, Jerry Lynn. Everybody who's ever worked with Jerry Lynn seemed to really like him. What were your impressions of Jerry Lynn?
Bro, I fell in love with Jerry Lynn. I really did, bro. I mean, to this day, like, I saw him not too long ago, maybe a couple of years ago, bro. To this day, when I see Jerry Lynn, he's one of those guys, my face just lights up. I fell in love with him immediately, the kind of human being he was. And that's why I said, bro, I just wanted to help these guys, get over as much as I possibly can. Help give them character, help them with their promos, help them with their dialogue. I was a fan of all these guys, bro. I really was.
In the first, 49 days of the title, it belonged to AJ Styles, but he did have a feud with Jerry Lynn. It was kind of a young guy, experienced veteran kind of thing. And it was one of the first kind of feuds that people really think about when they think about TNA, those early days. What can you tell me about Jerry Lynn and AJ Styles?
Oh, I love that.
As a feud?
Yeah, I love that. I love that, bro. And I remember it came out of that first match that I watched at home. When I went to work the second week, I'm like, we got to do something with these guys. I mean, that was just too damn good. We've got to create a story. We've got to build their characters. We've got to do something with this.
When you're looking at a young AJ Styles, and you're looking at AJ Styles in 2019, who has really realized himself, do you see it as him reaching what he was destined to, or do you see it as him growing and developing in a way maybe you didn't expect?
Bro, it's hard. It's hard because I hate what they're doing with AJ. I mean, but nobody can tell me they even came close to booking AJ in the WWE as well as we did in TNA. Nobody. You will lose that argument. I was watching AJ on SmackDown last year, and like all of a sudden, like AJ Styles is the forgotten guy. And it's like, how does that happen? And I don't know, bro. I have no idea if it's political and, maybe he wanted to go to AEW. I know he just, renegotiated a new contract. I don't know what happened, but we did so many better things with him at TNA. We had such a spotlight on him, such a focus on him. We really grew him. God, bro, they have not done him justice in the WWE, bro.
Guys, check out Total Engagement with me, Matt Kuhn. Interviews with some of the top wrestlers of today and of all time, and a bunch of original stuff, a little bit of music, but mostly the interviews. People love the Lex Luger interview, Tom Lawler, Joey Ryan, Paul Orndorff, Jim Johnston. That's what we've had in just the first 3 weeks. So check it out and hear an interview done by someone like you, a fan. Now, this week, we're going to have part 2 of our Jim Johnston interview. And I think, no promises, but I think we're going to have Brian Pillman Jr. as well as the elusive Conrad Thompson answering all. So make sure to tune in to Total Engagement with Matt Kuhn, dropping on Wednesdays on the MLW Radio Network, sponsored by WrestleZone.com. Total Engagement. Go to totalengage.net or any of your podcast providers right now. Subscribe today and check it out. Let me know what you think. Now back to the show. So this kind of feud with AJ Styles, he wins in Jerry Lynn. He wins the X Division title. He also, for a time, holds the tag team championships with Jerry Lynn. And you're starting to have some really great first contender matches. A lot of people coming in. Let's talk about kind of someone who's definitely thought of as part of that early X division. Yeah, yesterday I interviewed someone named Filthy Tom Lawler, who was defending the MLW championship um, in Chicago against Loki this weekend. And you had Loki back then. I thought Loki was a future can't miss star, a standout in the X division because he was so different. What did you think of Loki then, and what do you think of Loki now?
Well, I think Loki, bro. First of all, bro, anybody that is unique and different to me, I'm gonna pop for. There's only one Loki. This guy was unique and different. He had that low booming voice. God, bro, like hanging from these pipes. We were in a basement somewhere, and he was like hanging from these pipes. Like it was freaky. It was like I remember looking at him saying, like, how can a human being, like, how does he even do that? But bro, again, like I can tell you, I can look at you and I can know, bro, this is going to be the pitfall. This is where you're going to have problems. This is where you're not going to be able to reach your potential. Bro, he took everything so damn seriously. And he took himself so damn seriously. And his character so damn seriously. And, bro, I always knew, like, to me, I'm working with these TNA guys, and I know their goal is to go to the WWE. And when I'm working with them, I'm saying to myself, bro, that ain't going to fly there. Like, that's not going to work, with guys like, Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard. And it's not going to work, man. And like early on, like with these guys that had great potential, they had these pitfalls, and they weren't willing to change, and they weren't smart enough to change. And I think in a lot of cases, bro, it held them back. It had nothing to do with their athletic ability at all.
In the third NWA TNA pay-per-view, I'm gonna give you a name that's gonna take you back, and it's a name that we've forgotten a lot. Like, nobody talks about this guy ever. AJ Styles defeated David Young. Now, David Young in today's wrestling would do pretty good. He reminds me of like a member of the Revival or something. What do you remember? What can you say about David Young?
Yeah, bro, I know. I think it was Jerry. Jerry Jarrett was very, very high on David Young. I was not. I mean, I never was, bro. Nicest guy in the world. Very, very respectful. But me personally, as the writer, as the booker, I mean, I didn't see anything special about him. And again, bro, like he had that very, very heavy Southern accent. And, bro, the guy, Dutch Mantel used the term good little hand. He was a good little hand, but I just never looked at him as, like a main event or anything like that.
In the fourth pay-per-view, you had a 4 corners elimination match with Jerry Lynn and Tony Marmaluke and Kid Romeo, but also Elix Skipper. Let's talk a little bit about in the ring. There was very few as brilliant as Elix Skipper.
Bro, not only in the ring, bro, freaking Elix Skipper, primetime Elix Skipper as a character in WCW, he was tremendous, bro. He was able to pull off that character. He could cut promos. He was a younger, skinnier version of like Muhammad Ali. So like, I knew Elix had the character because I had worked with him at WCW. So, you combine that character with the way he worked, and I mean, you really, really had something special in Elix.
Sometimes people miss, and other times the industry misses them. I think Elix Skipper was ahead of his time for sure, but I think the industry kind of missed him because inside the ring, outside the ring, he was fantastic. Whether he was, the Team Canada stuff in WCW or the early days here, stealing the show, also really a standout outside the ring. Why do you think it didn't work out better for Elix Skipper?
Well, bro, I know, bro, when I was working with Elix and we had a relationship from WCW, so we had a great relationship in TNA. We both lived pretty close to each other in Atlanta. Bro, I know at the time he was having some personal problems. He was having some problems and issues at home. And like, he called me and I got involved and I tried to help, but I could tell, bro, it was really affecting him. It was affecting his head. It was affecting him emotionally. Now, bro, I don't know where Elix Skipper went from there. I don't know what happened, but I could tell you, bro, like stuff started happening in his personal life that were really starting to affect his in-ring.
We're starting to see in this fourth pay-per-view in the same match, the appearance of somebody who's interesting is, we hear it time and time again from you as someone that you were like oil and vinegar with and never really got along, never really saw the good in each other in a lot of ways. Christopher Daniels. Tell me something that you really liked about Christopher Daniels.
He was extremely respectful. And that's very, 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 very important to me because I really try to respect everybody that I work with. I don't care if it's your first day on the job or you're Ric Flair. And there was never an issue with him and I as far as respect. He was always, always very respectful to me. And bro, I think I treated him just as respectfully.
But he didn't feel maybe that you saw in him what he thinks you should have seen him in. At the same time, you might think he thought a little bit more highly of himself than he should have.
Well, bro, he was, man, I hope if Chris listens to this show, like he can look back 20 years and like kind of, say, maybe I was that way a little bit, you know what I mean? Because I could do that about myself. He was very stubborn, bro. Just very stubborn and just wanted to do everything his way. And when you try to introduce a different way or shed a little light on something or suggest something else, he wouldn't budge. He wouldn't budge. And bro, like, you got to understand with me, it's like, bro, I knew how to get people over. Like I had gotten people over. I know how to get you over. I can help you get over. But bro, if you don't listen to me, I'm telling you, bro, your talent in the ring is only going to take you so far. There are two sides to this business, bro. There's the athleticism, being a great athlete and a great worker, but on the other side of that coin is being a great actor and having a great personality and having a great character. You got to have both. And I was just always very, very, very frustrated with Chris because he always thought his way was the right way. Yes.
So here's another name. A lot of people, myself included, think he was really influential on wrestling today. He's somebody who doesn't get talked a lot about. He didn't really talk a lot, but when he was in the ring, he was amazing. And of course, the Amazing Red. We all remember the Amazing Red. What can you tell us about him that we don't know?
He was good, bro. I mean, he was really, really good. But again, Matt, it's like that's the thing with me. When you're that small, I'm just like, bro, this guy's going to break his neck. Like, I mean, that's just my feeling. But he was great, bro, man of very, very few words, like never really said anything. So couldn't cut a promo, like didn't have that side of it. That's why at one point we tried to put him with Don West. But what a special, unique
Can Don West talk?
Athlete.
Does Don West talk?
God, bro, please, bro.
So this first year of TNA X Division matches, what was the response of the people in the back to the X Division? How big of a priority was it? How important was it? And who was a fan of it and who wasn't a fan of it?
When it was first laid out by Jeff, bro, I really think Jeff would have been happy if it would have just been the opening match. Because bro, that's what they did at WCW. The Luchas were the opening match. I think that's how Jeff was looking at it. But bro, these guys were so good and they were so gifted. We had more than one match on the show, but as time went on, as more people came into the company, it just was eventually going to lead into problems, and that's what happened.
Let's talk about somebody else who was brought in as part of this X division, Kid Kash. What did you? It seems like there's a lot of different guys being brought in at this point. So, how much trouble did you have creating characters for each of these guys? Was there a point where you're like, oh my gosh, another one? What can I do with this one?
Well, no, not Kid Kash. I mean, Kid Kash had a character. Kid Kash knew who he was. Kid Kash was the real deal. Kid Cash's mouth got him in trouble a lot of times. I remember Vince Russo, of all people, I remember having to take him out to lunch one day and say, bro, you got to know when to shut up. Like, bro, like I'm your biggest fan and I'm in your corner, but you're pissing a lot of people off, bro. You just got to learn to shut up. But he's that same way to today. I don't think he should have ever changed. He was unique, bro. He was a great athlete and had a great, great character and a great look, man. Very believable, bro. Very believable.
And we start seeing other people come in like Chris Sabin. Chris Sabin was someone I always thought was really good in the ring. Like, you want to talk about the epitome of your post Nitro cruiserweight style guy. He had it all. Chris Sabin was not somebody that you thought was a good promo, though, right?
No, but I got to tell you a couple things about Chris Sabin. First of all, bro, another guy that was very respectful. Very, very, very respectful. Bro, as these guys now started coming in and they didn't originally begin with us, and like I said, bro, they learned a lot of this stuff on the indie circuit, where I guess the mindset was, if you could do this shit, you don't need a character. I guess that was the mindset. And that's when I started butting heads. I started butting heads with these guys. But, bro, I got to tell you two things about Chris Sabin. First of all, very, very respectful kid, bro. Very respectful kid. Bro, every freaking chick on the roster was in love with Chris Sabin. I mean, bro, when I would hear about Chris Sabin's, like triumphs, and like it would blow me away. Like the chicks that Chris Sabin was getting, I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. Because, bro, again, a guy that was very soft spoken, didn't say a lot of words, but he was over with the girls in the company.
What? So let's figure this out a little bit. He seems to be a normal looking guy. Seems to be normal size. Everything. Was it the way he just carried himself? Did he just walk around like he was the shit?
No, not at all. I think it was the opposite. I think everybody else was walking around like they were the shit, but him. And I think that was the appeal and that was the attraction. I mean, bro, the guy was dating Velvet Sky, for crying out loud.
You said that these guys, when they came in, they said, I can do this stuff so good that I don't really need to develop this stuff outside. You found that to be a mindset.
Matt, let me tell you what I started saying. And I wish people would hear me through. Because guys, when guys like the Young Bucks came in, when guys like the Motor City Machine Guns came in, when these guys came in, bro, my job was to assist them through character and story to help them reach the greatest heights that they could. That's what my job was, bro. I was there. I was working for them. Okay? Matt, here's what I would start saying. These guys are walking around in the back. And you're going to have to describe what I'm doing, Matt, because a lot of people might not be able to see this. But, bro, I'm seeing the Sabins. I'm seeing the Shelleys. I'm seeing the Bucks. I'm seeing all these guys walking around the back. And here's what they're doing, Matt, the whole day. The whole day. You ready?
Yeah.
They're walking around by themselves. This is what they're doing.
So Vince is looking in the air and throwing his hands around as if you're playing with action figures or something like that.
They're memorizing their spots. They're memorizing their matches all day long, bro. That's all they're doing separately. Then they're getting together. Then separately, going through the motions. And bro, you got to understand, I know, bro. If you're spending 6 hours of the day memorizing spots and your match, guess what? Your character goes out the window. You're not thinking of your character in the ring. You're so concentrated on remembering spots. You're not thinking about how would Chris Sabin act here or how would Chris Shelley act here. So all of a sudden, bro, everybody now becomes a wrestler. And you're all in the ring wrestling. You're all selling the same. You're all receiving the same. Like Chris Sabin is selling the same as Alex Shelley. Alex Shelley is selling the same as the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks are selling the same as Kazarian because you're training your mind to remember these spots you don't want to F up. You're not thinking about your character. So everybody is going to come across as the same. And bro, I would explain that to them till I was blue in the face. And that's where we really started banging heads.
Nobody knows much about this guy, but he's been around for a long time. Vince, please tell us something and unleash the mystery about perhaps the greatest wrestler of all time, Shark Boy.
The Shark Boy. Well, Shark Boy got it. I mean, Shark Boy. Obviously, Shark Boy tells you everything you want to know. He already had a character. I never quite understood Shark Boy. He came to TNA with the character Shark Boy. I did not develop that for him, but he was a great guy. He just wanted to be on the show. He just wanted to work. But I'll be honest, bro, I never really understood the Shark Boy character.
So was he a man that wanted to be a shark? Or was he the child of sharks who wrestled?
I have no idea, bro. I still don't know. A sweetheart of a guy. I still don't know.
Why didn't you guys do more with Shark Boy since he got it?
Bro, if you're asking me, it was because of the gimmick.
Well, he couldn't be out of the water more than an hour at a time. Or
that's
die,
it.
Right?
That would have been difficult. Yeah.
In August 2003, we saw the advent of the Ultimate X match. Whose idea was the Ultimate X?
Bro, there's a lot of discussion that goes into this. Glenn swears it was his idea. And I'm not arguing it, bro, because I don't know. Like, I honestly don't remember. If Glenn says it was his idea, I believe it was his idea. I mean, because he remembers it vividly. So I think it was Glenn. Disco.
And Disco's not a dude who's going to like say something that's his idea. That's not his idea.
Never. I mean, I don't remember, but if he says it was his idea, it was his idea.
And it took a little bit of, evolution for it to work. I remember there were some problems with and so it's a giant X hanging from another X. And do you have memories? You're laughing.
Well, I'm laughing, bro, because it's got my name written all over it, and it did not come from me. This did not come from me.
But and I just remember when the X kept falling down in one of those matches, they're like, no, the match isn't over yet. Do you have memories of that?
Yes. Yeah, many, bro, many.
AJ Styles, more and more is being seen about AJ Styles. More and more is being seen in AJ Styles by you guys, where maybe it's time for him, maybe not just to be X Division exclusive. When did you guys see this, and how important was our friend D'Lo Brown in this?
Oh, God, bro, please. D'Lo Brown did for AJ Styles what Road Dogg did for D'Lo Brown. Let's put it to you that way. Bro, tremendous. I always say, bro, and Steve Austin has said this too, bro. Steve Austin would not have been Steve Austin without Savio Vega. No doubt about it. I would say the same thing with AJ Styles when he was working with D'Lo. I would say the same exact thing.
How important is it for AJ Styles, if you want to be credible out of the X Division, to work with someone like D'Lo, who not just in the ring has the credibility, but outside the ring can teach him stuff? How important was that?
Extremely important, bro. And they had a great relationship and they got along very, very well. Again, like I said, bro, before Austin made it big, he was working Savio Vega. and Savio was, and bro, nobody ever gives Savio credit for this. Nobody. I was there. I saw it. Savio was giving Steve a history lesson every day, and that's how D'Lo helped AJ.
Do you have your phone near you? I just sent you a picture.
Yeah.
Can you look at the picture that I just sent you?
Yeah, let me get my glasses on. Where's my glasses? Yeah.
So, yeah, I think D'Lo was very important in helping get AJ. Do you see the picture?
Yes, I do.
What is it you see?
I see D'Lo.
What's he wearing?
Russo Club. Very nice, D'Lo. Very nice. Very, very
Isn't
nice.
that great? He's
That's
wearing a
great.
Truth with Consequences T-shirt with the Russo Club. How fantastic is that?
That's great. But, Matt, here's where the problem started. Because a lot of things weren't thought out and weren't discussed that were logically going to become problems. And we should have known the answer before we got there. In other words, these X Division guys are going to start getting over. So then all of a sudden the fans are going to rally behind them, get behind them. Well, bro, where do you go with them? Where do you go with them? I mean, if the X Division title is the pinnacle and you've got your heavyweight champion over here, well, bro, that's what people are going to eventually want to see. And that's how the problems began, bro, because now these guys are over in the X Division. Now you'd put them in the ring with a legitimate heavyweight. And wait a minute, this doesn't look like a fair fight. Bro, there are a lot of people commenting on this week. Who was it? It was Sheamus and Cesaro against who?
Last week it was Sheamus and Cesaro versus Gargano and Ciampa.
Yeah. I've heard so many comments that like literally those guys look like midgets compared to, bro, we were dealing with that. We were dealing with that 20 years ago, bro. Same issue.
We've talked about Frankie Kazarian before. Frankie Kazarian was a guy, he was young, good looking, a little bit bigger, not as small as some of the other guys, right?
Yeah.
He had a big future, I think. Went to WWE, didn't do that great WWE. He's been with Chris Daniels for a while now as a tag team. You probably maybe saw maybe a future kind of AJ Styles type in Kazarian at the time, or did
Well, first of all, bro, I got to tell you something. I mean, and not that there's anything wrong with this, but bro, Kazarian was probably like the most attractive male wrestler I ever worked with. Bro, great looking freaking guy. I mean, great looking guy, great looking body, great worker. Again, bro, it's funny how you keep hearing me repeat these things over and over again. Minus in the promo column. You know what I'm saying? And bro, thus the problem. I'm trying to help these guys with their promo so they become three-dimensional because I know they need that tool in their arsenal to get over with the casual fans. But a lot of these guys thought the match was the be-all, end-all. And again, speaking for casual fans, no, bro, you got to make them care about you. There's got to be something special about you that attracts them. You can't just be another wrestler. And it just seems, bro, with those guys that fought me, those were the guys that I feel never reached their full potential.
The first X Division match took place with this new concept that Disco came up with. 2 red ropes across the top of the rope with an X hanging down. Chris Sabin, Frankie Kazarian, and another person lost by history. Let's talk a little bit about Michael Shane.
Oh, yeah. No. Shane was good, bro. Yes, he was Shawn Michaels, right? His nephew.
It took you a minute, huh? It took you a minute.
Yeah, his nephew, right?
He was related to him in some way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, Michael Shane was good, bro. And there was a lot of Shawn Michaels in Michael Shane too. He was real. Again, bro, I don't know what happened with a lot of these guys. I can't tell you why they came and went, but he was a guy that came and went. I don't know what happened.
Coming to the third year of TNA, 2004, we're starting to see these guys kind of, as you're saying, almost interchangeably, whether it be, Chris Sabin, Low Key, Michael Shane. These are the guys that stuck around. The Amazing Reds aren't really there as much. The Flying Elvises aren't really there as much. But you really use Michael Shane a lot, Low Key a lot, Kazarian a lot, Christopher Daniels a lot. These were kind of the guys you hung your hat on. What was it about those guys, or were they so interchangeable that you can't really tell the difference that much?
Bro, to be honest with you, it was probably dollars and cents. Yeah, I mean, the TNA and Jeff and, Dixie at the time, they were really, really working on a budget. So, bro, I'll be honest with you. A lot of it probably depended on who was getting paid what.
That's interesting. So
yeah,
you guys, even at this point, you guys are really booking a lot based on financials?
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt.
When you look at these early guys of the TNA, Daniels, Low Key, Kazarian, of course, AJ. I mean, besides AJ, who is the one that you think could have done more in wrestling of this? Or Michael Shane, Low Key, all these guys. Is there one of these guys that you go, wow, that was a really missed opportunity to do something?
Yeah, bro. I don't know what happened with Sonny Siaki, bro. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know. If you would have asked me back then, Vince, who is the one guy, no doubt I would have pointed at him without missing a beat. I don't know what happened, bro. God, I swear to God, so much happened at TNA and there were so many people in and out. And that's why I can't tell you like why this one was there and this one left and this one came. But I thought he had a ton of potential.
And with this, you bring in somebody for the X division. Defeats AJ Styles for the title in late 2005 at the event Turning Point, a guy who came up through kind of WWE developmental with John Cena, went on to Ring of Honor. You guys bring him in as an X Division guy. Tell me about the arrival of one Samoa Joe.
Bro, I always get myself in trouble with Joe, man.
Well, let's get in trouble, Vince. Tell me about Samoa Joe.
I will tell you this. I love the guy as a human being. Sweetheart as a human being. Take the wrestling and all the other bullshit away. I could have a great relationship with Samoa Joe. Bro, this was the frustrating thing to me, which made it so difficult. Bro, I told you, Matt, everything back then was budgeting and money. Bro, Matt, sometimes we would shoot 6 weeks of TV at a time. Sometimes we did eight weeks at a time. Bro, I remember like 3 days in a row. Bro, can you imagine writing that shit? You're writing 3 days in a row and you're doing 3 shows a day. I mean, it's freaking ridiculous. But my point is, bro, sometimes we wrote 6 weeks at a time, sometimes 8 weeks at a time, sometimes a month at a time. Bro, every time we came back to tape, Joe's weight would always fluctuate. And it made it so difficult because you didn't know what Samoa Joe you were going to get. And bro, let me tell you something. I think it was Matt Conway. Matt Conway said to me at one point, Vince, you got to look at freaking footage of Samoa Joe when he was in Japan. So I looked at Joe in Japan and I was like, holy F. Like, I would believe that guy could beat anybody. Like, seriously, like it almost brought me back to being a kid where some of the heels would scare me. Samoa Joe in Japan was scary. But bro, the problem was, sometimes he got lazy. And sometimes when we were away for 6 weeks, he'd put on 10 or 15 pounds and he didn't look as good as he did on the last TV. And he was a little slower than he was at he really, really, really had a problem with conditioning and staying in shape. And bro, there was a big difference when he was a lighter Samoa Joe, a more in shape Samoa Joe than when he would let himself go. And, bro, sometimes he would look great and sometimes he would look really, really bad. And it was difficult for me as a writer because you didn't know what guy was going to show up in 6 weeks. And that's got nothing to do with him as a human being. That's on a personal level. I mean, a professional level, and me just trying to do my job. And bro, I see that today. I mean, I see it today, like when I watch WWE. Sometimes I could see, Joe's putting on weight again. Sometimes he looks good. Sometimes he's putting on weight again. The consistency is hard to book. Bro, if we had that guy from Japan, forget about it. He would have been unbeatable.
Was that something that everybody in the back was talking about? Was
everybody, bro. Like I said to you, bro, there are reasons why so many guys never met the potential. And I could go right down the line and tell you, but yes, bro, everybody.
In the WWF, if someone was doing that, Vince would go up to them and go, "Goddamn, pal, you're getting fat. Get to work." Is there nobody who could do that?
No, they did. But Matt, they did. And he would lose weight by the next TV. And then, bro, we'd come back to the next TV and he put the weight back on.
Wow.
And bro, listen, I'm a fat piece of crap right now. Okay, bro, like it is very, very hard for me to lose weight. It's very hard for me to not eat what I want to eat. I get it. But bro, I'm also 60 and I don't wrestle for a living. I mean, come on, bro. When that's your job, you've got to maintain, a certain condition. It's part of the job.
And you see the influence of the X Division, not just 205 Live and not just, a Ricochet, but also in the All Elite Wrestling, because you've got the Bucks, you've got Omega, you've got these guys where the ring work, quote unquote, is the most important thing. And from your standpoint, you're seeing a lack of characters, you're seeing a risk factor, and you're seeing the influence of the X Division on all of wrestling today.
And not only that, bro, Matt, let me add a third to that. Now the girls are trying to do that stuff.
It's true.
And the girls, bro, are built differently than the guys. And their bodies can't take the same impact that a guy that weighs 200 pounds or 215 pounds can take. And they're trying to do the same thing. So now the risk of injury to the women is even greater than it is to the guys.
It's like, that brings, it brings to mind the next guy I wanted to talk about, which is one of the kind of more interesting kind of debuts in wrestling, Suicide. There was a wrestler named Suicide. I don't know if a lot of people know the story of how Suicide came to be. It's actually not a Vince Russo creation. Talk about Suicide.
No, what's your take on how it got to be?
I think the story is it was a video game character before it was a wrestler.
That's exactly it. It was a video game character that was pretty dang cool. So we were like, shoot, let to promote the game, let's make that character a wrestler. And we did that with Frankie Kazarian.
Was there any kind of thought that maybe you should have a character called Suicide?
You know what, bro? There really wasn't. I mean, there really wasn't.
Because he was so cool looking, right?
Well, it wasn't, bro. I mean, do you have a year there when he debuted? Like, I mean, because it was a different. It wasn't back then what it is.
It was almost 10 years ago. It was March 15th, 2009, when he won the X Division title, Ultimate X16, defeating Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, Jay Lethal, and Consequences Creed.
Bro, you know what killed it? You know what killed Suicide?
Suicide?
You know what killed Suicide, bro? Bro, do you remember Suicide had a really cool entrance on the zip line?
Totally. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Freaking Frankie hurt his elbow and he couldn't do the entrance anymore. So, like, kind of without the entrance, it kind of killed the whole gimmick.
Homicide defeats Suicide for the X Division title 2009. Homicide. It's now I just feel like an idiot. Homicide was wrestling is weird, dude. Homicide was a good wrestler. Like, he was a little bit different. He had a little different look. He had a little different style. Let's talk about Homicide versus Suicide and why Homicide could beat Suicide.
Well, bro, here's the thing about Homicide that I'll never forget. First of all, great guy. The LAX gimmick was over. Bro, Homicide. Bro, do you remember the first night when we went head-to-head with the WWE?
Yeah, sure.
Remember the first match in that cage, that circular cage?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff Hardy was supposed to hit there and return and all this shit, right? Well, bro, the idea was we had this big circular ring and like freaking Homicide was supposed to crawl out of the ring. Right? Or out of the top. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, sure.
So, bro, I'll never forget. This is the first show head-to-head with Raw. Like, this is a huge deal. This is live. Scott Hall and X-Pac were brought in and Jeff Hardy. And, I mean, this show was stacked, right? So, bro, I remember during the day I'm going over my shit and everything and this, that, and the other thing, and Homicide is eating at catering. So I said, Homicide, bro, to finish to the match, you're going to get out, and Jeff Hardy's going to hit, and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, Vince, I know. Okay, bro, have you gone into the cage and tried escaping the cage? No, bro, I don't work like that, bro. I got to do that in real time, bro. I can't go out and rehearse that now. I got to let the adrenaline kick in, this and the other thing. I'm like, bro, are you sure you don't want to go out there? Nah, bro, I can't do a rehearsal, blah, blah, blah. So, bro, sure enough, we have the freaking match. The cue is as he's about to crawl out of the cage, Hardy hits, bro, he can't crawl out of that freaking cage. But, bro, here's the bad news. Now, freaking Bischoff's around now. You know what I'm saying? This ain't Vince where like, you're going to laugh it off after the show. Right. This is like, bro, you're going home and like, you're not coming back. It was one of those things. And like that, like literally that's exactly what happened with Homicide back then. And that's the thing, bro. Now that we're on to the Bischoff, now you're running into a whole other issue because you want to talk about a guy that doesn't understand what the X division is. And you're going to try to tell Eric, oh, bro, it means there's no limits. Like, bro, forget about it. So now, bro, in the production meetings, now we're adding psychology to the X division matches. But now we're like, well, bro, now they're just wrestling, man. Like they're not X Division matches anymore.
Right.
If you're adding psychology and people are selling and now it's just a wrestling match. So like at that point, bro, nobody knew what it was anymore.
And I guess the night that Homicide couldn't get out of his cage, Homicide died in TNA. Huh?
Yes, pretty much.
That was it. Yes. We're just going to talk about a couple more. This has been a great episode of Truth with Consequences, and we're not going to take you all the way up to the current, but I wanted to get through a couple people.
Is there still an X Division?
I think so. I don't really watch Impact anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe I should do more research on what's going on now, but there's a lot going on. Back then we're actually up to 2010 now. We're up to 8 years into the X Division title. I believe we've covered every single champion. Somebody that you like, when I passed by his name a while ago, you wanted to talk about him a little bit more. 2010 the Amazing Red was defeated by Douglas Williams.
Oh boy.
Talk about Douglas Williams a little bit.
Man, he's a guy like I would have, bro, how that guy is not an agent or does not have a full-time job with somebody is beyond me. Bro, Doug Williams is a pros, freaking pros. He's kind of like the British version of Kurt Angle. Man, bro, I thought so highly of him. He was so smart, such a professional, had great knowledge of the business, helped Nick Aldis a lot in those early years. But, just again, bro, like, guys like Rude, guys like him, those are guys that you need working for your company. Doug Williams should be a freaking agent in the WWE or even AEW, guys. You guys think I'm an asshole? Freaking have a conversation with Doug Williams, man. I'm telling you, bro, he could take an average wrestler and make him look great.
And Doug Williams underrated as a wrestler, underrated as a wrestling guy. You feel in wrestling today is that?
Yeah, because he never spoke up. He never opened his mouth. He came to work. He did his job. He did a phenomenal job. Never made any noise. And it's a shame, bro. I mean, that guy should have a full-time job someplace.
So Doug Williams gets the title. It bounces around between a couple more familiar names, Jay Lethal and Amazing Red. And I think we're going to stop with the X Division title at this point because I believe this is where the X Division title died, never to recover. November 7th, 2010, Jay Lethal loses the X Division title to Robbie E.
Oh, yeah, forget it. That's it. Done. Put a fork in it.
What the hell?
Put a fork in it. Boy, is he wearing his pink polka dots, bro?
I can't even look at him. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
put a fork in it. Done. Finished.
Robbie E., Robert Strauss, father of twins.
Yeah. 10 years of credibility down the drain. Just one night.
Destroyed.
In one night, bro.
Destroyed. Yeah. But it's interesting, though, with Robbie, who, I don't think there's anybody in wrestling I like more than Robbie personally. With Robbie, it's the opposite of what you're saying. This guy has a character. This guy has a gimmick. He's your first out of everybody we've talked about. He's the first real gimmick we've had in there, right? Yeah,
no, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
It kind of represented a turn and a change. And at the same time, probably some backlash from the Meltzers of the world. What was the thinking in making the punch, kick, choke champion of the world, Robbie E., the champion of the no limits category in TNA?
Well, see, bro, that's part of it too, because if you lack the promo skills, how are you going to make that title mean something? When you got something like Robbie E., he is going to make you believe that title is more important than the heavyweight title, because he can talk and he can put it over and he can really make it special. So he's really going to put the spotlight on that title by being able to talk about it.
Robbie E., the best character up to this point to hold the TNA title, would you say?
The X Division title?
Yeah.
Did Eric Young ever hold it?
Not at this point.
Then yes. Yes.
The best talker up to this point to hold the X Division title?
Yes.
So from your standpoint, when you're getting in this guy who's a good talker, who not necessarily is going to do a lot of high flying, but who's got a character, who can actually play that role where he makes other people look good. This is really kind of a different place for the X Division title. This must have been all you to say, let's give this gimmick, this kid, this talker, this character, the X Division title and see what happens with it.
I don't think it was all me, Matt. I think everybody liked Robbie. You know what I'm saying, bro? Like nobody objected to it. Everybody liked Robbie. So it wasn't just me. I mean, he earned it, bro, and everybody liked him.
So one more thing about Robbie. Why does everybody act like they hate him? You know what I'm saying? Like everybody always ribs him. Everybody acts like Robbie is like, oh God, Robbie E. Is it because he was such a hustler and just knocking down doors trying to get in for so long?
Bro, he's like, this goes the same way. Like, this goes the same way because, bro, but Robbie is a lot like Disco. Like, bro, I never saw Robbie in a bad mood. I never saw Robbie mad. I never saw Robbie with boo-boo face. I never saw Robbie complain about a finish of a match. They're a lot alike. And I mean, I think that's why people rib them because, bro, a lot of times with wrestlers, you got to really be careful because you don't know how they'll take something. You know what I'm saying? But with guys like Robbie and Disco, you know that you could never do or say anything to really get them mad. And I think that's why you rib guys like that all the time. It's a breath of fresh air.
Absolutely. And I think this episode has been a breath of fresh air. We'll put a bow on it and we'll say that what you're saying is a little bit different than what people expected. How the X Division changed wrestling forever. It did bring in these high spots. It did bring in these, what Alvarez called devoid of psychology, the worst of the wrestling evolution, but a lot of exciting matches, a lot of memorable moments. But for you, the impact of the X Division was a net loss because it showed a generation of talent you did not have to have characters to get over.
Yeah, and bro, like I said, man, I don't think we've seen anything yet, because bro, a guy like Ricochet comes in two weeks ago, bro. Those guys are going to have to keep raising the bar and raising the bar and raising the bar. Matt, here's what's going to happen. I'm just telling you, bro. Somebody's going to get hurt badly. I'm talking draws badly. And when that happens, Matt, here's what it's going to be. Or maybe we should look at the way we work. I'm telling you, but it's not going to happen until that happens. And like I said, bro, the more you bring in like these guys like Ricochet that are phenomenal, other people are going to have to feel like we got to do better. We got to jump further. We got to jump higher. And bro, you're going to do something you're not capable of doing, and it's going to be a disaster. And I don't want to see that.
I think when we think of those kind of injuries, I think we think about sometimes Jeff Hardy falling off the top of the cage onto the steps outside once. When you look at the history of the X Division, Elix Skipper walking the top of, I guess that was an X Division, but things like that. Elix Skipper walking the top of the cage, all the crazy stuff in the Ultimate X matches. How lucky do you think it is that TNA escaped that era without a major injury?
Oh my God, bro. It's incredible. It's incredible. I even look, Matt, one of the things that stood out to me, man, is like when you look back now, bro, this is my advice to any wrestler. Bro, when you're about to do a crazy spot, if you could stop for 1 second and ask yourself, is the reward worth the risk? Ask yourself, like literally as a shoot, what am I going to get out of this? Because, bro, the bottom line is they're going to forget the move. They're going to forget it by the end of the night. And then you got Raw tomorrow and there's new moves. Because one thing that really comes to mind to me, bro, is Kevin Owens taking that bump off the top of the cage with Shane McMahon.
I hated that. And I remember that was before I worked with you. And I said something on Twitter about it. And people said, oh, dude, it's safe. It's safe. I thought it was completely unnecessary.
If Kevin Owens would have just asked himself, is the risk worth the reward? They would tell themselves no every single time.
When something that's gone around a lot, especially the last couple of years, are these GIFs, these short videos on Twitter of indie wrestlers just botching. And we saw recently a guy doing a shooting star press on a table, missing his face smacking against the concrete. We're seeing just yesterday, there was a guy doing a double springboard where he just falls down on his face. Disco's always good about retweeting those and saying, what an idiot, is that part of the influence of the X Division as well?
Matt, let me go one step further. This is where it's at. Matt, I was working for a local promotion here, and I actually got us a television deal. Okay. And bro, the night before we were about to shoot like 4 shows for TV, this company had a show this is an indie company. They had a show at a bar. Okay. Matt, who's at wrestling shows at bars drunks. Okay, bro, drunk. They're not wrestling fans. They came because, wrestling, that's cool. So, bro, they're drinking, they're getting drunk, they're obnoxious. Bro, there's 50 people in the freaking in the place.
There's a place. There's a thing called bar wrestling right now. Bar wrestling.
Yeah. Okay, bro. There's 50 drunks in the place getting excited over every little thing because they're drunk. Bro, we got a TV taping the next day. The entire roster were doing the most ridiculous risk-taking maneuvers to pop the 50 drunks in the bar. That's the influence, bro, and the effect that it's had, because those people, bro, with no experience, those no names, they're the ones getting hurt. They're the ones we're not reading about, bro. They're the ones, getting concussed, breaking necks, breaking backs. Because now, bro, you have people that are untrained trying to do what these guys are doing on television after 1 month at wrestling school. And we're not seeing that, bro. And I saw it. And there are so many kids, bro, 18, 19, 20, trying to do that shit. They're not equipped, and they're hurting themselves badly.
Again, I point to Joey Ryan. Joey Ryan doesn't do any of that stuff. He makes as much money as anybody on the indie scene. He's wrestling 21 times in March. He doesn't have to do any of that stuff. And why, Vince? He's got a character.
Yep.
So that brings us to a close of the X Division episode. Everybody wants to know about the X Division. Vince, we went through friggin' 35 names probably. We went through everybody I think anybody's wanted to talk about. Give us feedback, of course, on Twitter, @Russo TWC. Visit us on YouTube. Visit us on, of course, Westwood One, and a Patreon site where we have a bunch of stuff going up very, very soon. Vince, that brings us to our segment, Are You Kidding Me, Bro? With Vince Russo. What you got for me today?
Oh, are you kidding me, bro, with Vince Russo? You know what, bro? I'm going to flip this. I'm going to give you a positive.
Sure.
I have been saying for the last 5 years, when it comes to the WWE, guys, forget the creative. Put creative aside. Good, bad, indifferent, no characters, no story. Forget all that. Bro, hire somebody that knows how to format and structure a wrestling show properly.
I got to say this. You said this on our show. You actually suggested hiring the person they did before they did.
If just get somebody that knows how to format and structure a wrestling show for television. If you just do that, your show will be 100 times better. That's exactly what they did on Raw. That's exactly what Bruce Pritchard did, bro. I don't think Bruce probably didn't have a lot of time to get involved in the creative, but I guarantee you they handed Bruce the script and he went through that script and he formatted it and he structured it the right way and he moved it along. And bro, it was night and freaking day. A 3-hour show was watchable. The matches were shorter. They threaded stories throughout. They had good cliffhangers. They went to commercial breaks with good cliffhangers. The show moved, a lot of different looks. I was telling you guys that for years. Just find somebody who knows how to format a show. Congratulations, guys. Congratulations. And Bruce, even though you said F Russo, okay, bro? And it really affected me and hurt me and really made me take a long, hard look at, is this guy really my friend? Like, to be honest with you, I'm not going to take away anything from what you did, bro. because the shows I've been watching for the last 5 years, and that show on Monday night was night and freaking day. Bruce Pritchard knows how to do that.
Behind the scenes, between you and I, as well as in front of the camera, in front of the podcast, you've been pretty consistent in saying that you're glad that Bruce Pritchard got hired because you're happy for him. You're glad that the WWE hired him because it's good for the WWE. So is there a part of you that says it all? They hired Bruce Pritchard, but they won't even look at Vince Russo?
No, not at all, bro. Not because, bro, listen, that's not hurting me. That's hurting them. Bro, if I needed a job, that would be one thing. If I actually needed a job, I don't need a job, bro. I make a living off of, the brand. I make a living off of this show. They're not hurting me. They're hurting themselves. And bro, I will say this. As good a job as Bruce did structuring the show and formatting the show and running Gorilla, Bruce does all that stuff tremendously. Creatively, bro, characters, storylines. Let me put it this way. We're just going to have to wait and see. But no, bro. I mean, not at all. Not at all, because it's like, bro, keep doing what you're doing, because you got another wrestling company starting. You guys don't make the proper changes and don't bring in the proper people for whatever reason. You're the ones that's going to have an issue. Now, bro, can I now do a rant?
Yes.
Okay. I know you got to, okay, let me phrase this a different way. It concerns WrestleZone.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Matt, can I tell you what drives me crazy with the wrestling sites?
Oh, go ahead.
And I go to Wrestling Zone. I want you guys to know this. You're the only site I go to because you got pictures. So it's easy for pictures. Yeah, it's easy. It's easy for me to read, bro. Matt, here's how. Listen to me. Put the cigarette down.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. How many times do you tell me? Okay, bro, your name got brought up on Castrating the Marks. Not that we castrated you, but I brought this up.
Sure.
How many times have you told me none of these people think wrestling is real?
Many, many times.
Many times, right, Matt? I'm not putting words in you. Many times, right?
Sure.
Bro, why am I going on Wrestling Zone? Why does the headline read, Becky Lynch explains how she used her own money to bail herself out of jail? Why is that a headline on Wrestling Zone if we all know this is a work? Matt, can I tell you?
I have no idea. Matt, that is interesting.
Matt, tell me if you agree with me on this, okay? Coming from that world, okay? Here's what drives me crazy about the dirt sheets, Matt. I swear to God, because there's nothing in the world like them. Matt, from Wednesday to Sunday, okay, bro, it's all about the backstage news. Triple H and Vince are at odds, and Vince brought in the NXT guys. Arn Anderson gets fired. Bruce Pritchard is brought in. It's from Wednesday through Sunday. They deal with the real world. Okay? Bro, all of a sudden on Monday and Tuesday, like the shit on TV's real. Like it's real. Like they're reporting on Raw and SmackDown like the shit really happened. And then Wednesday, we go back to the news and the reality of the wrestling business. And then on Monday and Tuesday, what you saw on TV becomes real again. It's like, bro, like what is it? Like what? It can't be both, bro.
It's interesting with the WrestleZone.com thing, which, is still the most widely viewed wrestling news site on the planet. But looking this up and finding out what the deal was with it, because that is interesting, right? You're doing the storylines Monday and Tuesday. What they do a lot of times is they just report what people tweet. Okay. So like, for instance, they'll be like, Vince Russo says this. You go to the story, and it's one of your tweets, right?
Well, let's not get crazy. They'll never say Vince Russo said anything.
Well,
So
WrestleZone does.
Use somebody else as an example.
Well, WrestleZone prints your stuff, but I mean, WrestleZone printed your response to Eric Bischoff, right?
Yeah, but don't you find it bizarre a little bit?
But here's what in this particular case, what it was them just reporting what Becky Lynch tweeted. That's all it is. It's them taking what Becky Lynch tweeted, turning it into a headline and putting it out there so people click on that and see what her tweet is, because she wrote, Becky Lynch tweeted, I paid my own way out, but wondering if I can claim bail money back in work under expenses. And then at the end, WrestleZone writes, we'll see what this means for Raw on Monday, but do you hope to see Lynch show up expected yet again? So I think even in the article, they're making it more of a storyline thing, but it's basically just reporting her in-character tweet. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, but they're probably doing it, man. And I get this, but it's just so weird. They need content. Bro, I mean, let's face it, whatever content they could put up there, is the more content, the better. I mean, I totally get that, but it's just like, on 3:00, Vince is firing on Anderson, and, 5:00, Becky paid her own bail. It's just weird, bro.
I think a lot of it is they report what goes on Twitter, and the headline is, Becky Lynch says she pays her own bail.
Yeah.
So I think they're just reporting the tweet, but I do understand that, on these wrestling news sites, sometimes, it can be a little confusing if they mix the narrative with the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah. It's just weird. It's like, it's just weird. It's just weird, bro.
You know what they're doing with that? They're going to, probably make a t-shirt out of her mugshot, quote unquote,
Oh, you think so?
Oh, totally. They got to.
Yeah.
Right? They got to.
Yeah.
So that brings to close our episode of Truth with Consequences. Vince Russo, I think this was a great episode. You had a couple good takes at the end of the show, but the X Division, you're now off to retire to Green Grove with Livia Soprano and Polly Walnuts' aunt. That's what you're doing. You're going to be singing Frank Sinatra around the piano, and you're going to be playing canasta every Tuesday night. Are you excited about your
Mahjong? I'm going to play. That's my game. Mahjong, bro.
Bingo night is Wednesday. Pizza night's Thursday.
Yes.
It's going to be fantastic. You're moving. How stressed out are you?
We're close to the end, bro. We're close to the end, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, moving is, one of the top 5 stressful things in your life. It's like death, marriage, divorce, moving.
Yeah.
Are you feeling that at all?
A little bit, yeah.
Well, we'll let you get to it. Thanks, guys. It's been another great episode. We're going to see you next week on Truth with Consequences.